Hey everybody, weather is absolutely disgusting again today, so let's do an indoor video. And I realised this would be a good one to do because I get so many questions about the setup that I use for vlogging or for filming what I film, and I haven't done an updated all-in-one video to explain my current setup and camera use. I've also got a package from Insta360 to show you, so we'll get into that. I was going to be out testing one of the things they sent me, but unfortunately, as I say, it is peeing it down rain, so not an option today. I have made individual videos on like my microphone and how I make my microphone and also how I attach my camera to my helmet and stuff. But as I say, I'm going to do an all-in-one video now. So let's start with the vlogging setup. I use a GoPro, which I'll talk about more in a minute. The mount I've got is a normal GoPro mount which is stuck onto the front of my Icon Variant Pro. This is actually my old one. I've got this one to hand. I've got the new one, which the Bug Chucker I've done a video on recently, which I've done the exact same thing to. As I say, it's stuck on the front, and then I've screwed around the edge all the way. Then the camera I use is a GoPro Hero 9. I have extensive videos talking about this camera and comparing it to the Insta360 1R with some side-by-side and all sorts of stuff that can be found on my channel. But I use the GoPro ball mount. This thing is absolutely fantastic. Thanks to Hippodrones for making this suggestion. I didn't know it existed when I first got the GoPro a long while back. Oh, by the way, notice the smashed lens still? This is my old GoPro. I realised there was a way of fixing it temporarily that made it worth not replacing it yet. So what I did was I got a screen protector, which has kept everything in, and then I used glue, like a gasket, around the outside to seal it in, and it's worked perfectly. The thing is, with the subscription package from GoPro, you still pay to replace the camera pretty much. I mean, it's a less of a cost, but it's still most of the way towards a new camera, so it's actually worth just using this until it dies, if it does die, then paying the subscription to get a camera cheaper, and then sending this back, no questions asked replacement, and paying a smaller amount to have another one. Obviously, the benefit of the ball mount is it's a ball joint that you can move in many directions. You can spin it, you can tilt it backwards and forwards. It's a universal ball joint. It means that no matter where it's mounted on your helmet, you can get the angle right, and you've also got the adjustment here as well. It's a good way of getting around any issues with the mount not being exactly where you need it. So highly recommend these. GoPro 9, been a fantastic, reliable camera, brilliant quality. Yeah, as I say, I've got videos on that. You may notice I've got a standard door on the side of this, and that's because I don't use in-camera audio for when I'm recording on-bike videos. By having it closed, it's now completely waterproof, apart from, well, now that's an issue, but, you know, there isn't a gaping hole there. And the way I record audio is I use a Zoom H2N in my pocket. I have a Cena boom mic like this, which I've modified, and I have a video explaining how I modify these to make my mics, that runs down to a 3.5mm jack that plugs straight into this. So yes, I do have a cable, hanging out of my helmet that goes down into my jacket and connects to this. It's all Velcroed in, the cables aren't that strong, you know, there are quick disconnects in the line, so if I was to come off and it was to get grabbed by something, it's not going to go round my neck and it's not going to hurt me, it's going to pull out somewhere. So I'm not worried about it from that perspective, and it's actually not been that annoying. But what it does give me is separate audio. Now, because I use multiple cameras, here's an example. I use like an Insta360 1X2, and I've got a package to open in just a minute because there's a product that's come for this from Insta360. If I'm using one of these, it is much easier, for me I find anyway, to have a separate audio system, because say for instance this camera fails for a moment or for a few minutes or something happens, I'm not relying on this for the audio, and these fail far more regularly than something like this does. This is ultimately reliable. Like 2 AA's lasts so long. A decent sized memory card gives you a couple of 100 hours of recording time, and you get displays on the screen to make sure you're not peaking. You get much better audio quality, and I can adjust the gain on the side of here to account for any microphone that's a bit high or low. And it gives you just so much better audio. But obviously that also means that I have, should this camera fail, as I say, I can still use the audio from this and the visuals from this, because having a 360 camera on my bars, although I use it as a static camera, you'll notice it's a locked off shot. The benefit is I can also make a front facing shot or whatever I want from that as a backup. Also, the reason why I use it as a locked off shot, and some people say, well, why wouldn't you just use a GoPro? That seems dumb, having a 360 to do what a GoPro does. It doesn't, because nothing goes as wide as a 360 camera. Having a GoPro in the same position on my bars wouldn't give me the same view or anywhere close to it. You can almost look like it's hovering off the bike, even though it's just on the bars. Now, the Insta360 One X2 has been very solid and reliable for me until a little while ago when I had a couple of videos it failed on. Now, I don't know if they're related to vibrations, because the time it seems to happen is when it's on something like my DR or the DR800, the DR Big I test rode. Huge bar vibrations on that, and it turned the camera off. Could it be vibration related? I don't know. I've also had the same problem with it turning off on my XJ6, which normally wouldn't cause any problems. So I've wondered whether it's the batteries, just because I've only ever had one, getting old. So I contacted Insta and said, hey, can you send me a replacement battery? And I didn't hear from them for a while. I think they must have missed my email or something. And then I sent them another one saying, hey, did you get my last email? And they obviously were like, oh, sorry. Yes, we did get it, because I had a package arrive and it's got some interesting stuff in it, and it's also going to allow me to see if this was just the battery that was the issue. I'm imagining it might have been, but as I say, there is a thing in there that's interesting. So of course, absolutely massive thanks to Insta360 being so supportive of creators like myself. They sent me another brand new One X2. They sent me 2 batteries, so that makes 3, which is great. They also sent me another lens cap to protect the camera. There's the motorcycle kit I'll show you in a second. And another one of the invisible selfie sticks. And then this. Vibration damper? Huh? There's a lot of boxes going on here. Let me just get this all out. 1 camera lens cover. 1 battery. And something I really liked about these batteries is they come in these little cases that can just fit in your pocket. So when you're out on the bike and you need to carry some spare bats, this keeps it safe. And because Insta360's got a decent development team who actually think things through, they realise, well, generally when you change the battery, you're probably going to change the memory card. They've put a little memory card slot in the case with it, so you can have a memory card and a battery together in a nice little hard case package. Fantastic little design idea. So I've got 2 of those. Thank you. 64 gig Insta360 SD card. I will talk about the 1R in a minute with 360 lens in comparison to this, because I do have some conclusions to add that I've had in more recent times. Oh, yes, very nice. Lovely new. Nice. I'm really hoping the issues I had with this one was just related to the battery getting old, because having a pair of these is a very powerful thing to have as a creator. Oh no, can you see that ring, that like moisture ring? That appeared a while ago and it never seemed to have affected anything, but maybe I should probably put this in a dehumidifying box with the battery out and see if that gets rid of that. But anyway, so we've got USB-C cable, an neoprene case, and you get some stickers and a cleaning cloth, which are quite nice. Cleaning cloths actually I use in my photography lenses, and some instruction manual stuff. Of course, one of the amazing things that the Insta360 cameras do is they work with the what's so-called invisible selfie stick, which just basically means that the camera gets rid of the stick from the view. This is one of their selfie sticks. I have done a video called World's Longest Selfie Stick, where I stuck about 5 of these together. Before you say, oh, you can add that one on, it's going to snap. If you see that video, you'll see where are the limits. But that was a really interesting way of getting some interesting, really high off the ground shots using an Insta360 camera and just a load of poles. The motorcycle kit, you get a load of the GoPro style mounts, self-adhesive pads, screw-ins, some adapting bits. All very useful. As I say, I'm just going to add that into my box. It's literally a drawer, this by this, just full of mounts. This is one of Insta360's bar mounts, the ball joint bar mounts. I've got one of them here already made up. This thing is skookum. This is a really, really nice, wide opening bar mount. I wish it was longer at times, but when you put the One X2 on this, because of the height of the camera, that really does increase the height of it. And with the next thing I'm going to show you, it's going to make it even higher, but better, hopefully. I say I need to do some side-by-side comparisons with this next thing. I didn't even know that Insta360 made such a thing. vibration damper. What? In here, you get an Allen key, and you get this. By the way, I love when companies send stuff with foam like this. I keep the foam because there's so many times you're like, I could do with a dense piece of foam to put in here for like vibration reduction or for padding something, or if you want little boxes you put memory cards in. I always keep this stuff because it's so handy. Anyway, sorry. So this is the Insta360 vibration damper. And the way this works is whatever you would have screwed in the bottom of the camera, you screw into the bottom of the damper, and then you attach the camera onto this. It's got a nice nailed ring to get that tight, but also they've put holes in it so you can put your Allen key in and give it a tweak to make sure it's tight. And then what this does, it's just like a little hovering damper platform. You can see how that's going up and down. Now, it's got a little bit of rock backwards and forwards and side to side, and it sort of bounces up and down. But I think the idea is that obviously that's going to reduce the vibrations the camera experiences, and it'll also take out, well, big bumps are going to get more softened, and high frequency should be isolated out. And I do wonder whether it's high frequency vibrations that were causing problems with my previous one, but I don't know. But as I say, with this mount on here, this is going to increase the height of the camera, which is something I've wanted from the Insta360 mount, because what I normally use is a small rig mount. This is an example of a small rig mount. I have a video on small rig mounts. If you put Spice 110 small rig, you'll get these come up. My video about them. I use a long arm version for my on bike stuff because it gets the camera way away from me. But now with this, that extra height there, that's pretty good. It's going to be very simple to do a side-by-side comparison using this. I will say here, it seems that it would only work if the camera is in the vertical position, so because it only really dampens downwards, it doesn't do anything. Well, it does a bit of side-to-side, but it rocks, so I don't know if... It's going to be interesting. As soon as that rain goes away, I'll get out and I'll test this. So as I say, thank you to Insta360 for supporting creators like myself. I'm very, very grateful for it, and my opinion is not being bought because I'm being given kit. I would want this kit. I would probably give my left leg for this kit were I not able to get connection with Insta360 and promote them and get the stuff in return. I really am a massive fan of their cameras. So let me quickly get on to what I was mentioning about the Insta360 One X2 and the One R with 360 mod and the big battery. Oh, I don't know if you've seen one of these. The standard batteries for the Insta360 are like these. Just a plain battery. They don't last a huge amount of time. This little thing in the middle is an Insta360 twin charger. Definitely get one of these if you use the 1R regularly. This is their like Enduro big battery, boosted battery base. But what it's also got is legs, like the GoPro. So you don't have to use a case like this. You normally put this in with one of the small batteries. You just stick that together and there's your 360 camera. You will have seen I've been using this in recent videos because I've been having issues with the One X2 just not being reliable all the time. This has been a bit of an up and down case over the years, but now the 1R has matured and it is fantastic. Don't forget this thing comes, well, you can buy either a kit with all of it or buy it separately. You can have a lens like a GoPro. You can, sorry, that's another body from a, ignore that. You can have the 1-inch mod, which gives you absolutely fantastic picture quality. That is a very powerful thing, but that's not ideal for on-bike use. And then you have the 360 mod with its 2 lenses. The quality of the 360 video from this, at the current firmwares that I've been using these cameras, because they do constantly adapt, improve, really look after the customers as they fix things. There are times that things get a bit squiffy, and then you might have to wait a month for the update, but generally Insta's like they're active, they're constantly trying to help creators by adding more tools. GoPro do things like adding stuff in so you can't use third-party batteries in them anymore. Yeah, There's a reason I support Insta360 a lot more than I do GoPro, but unfortunately I can't get around that I like their cameras. I think the quality from this as a 360 is slightly better than the 1X2. Particularly this, I think this is better in lower light conditions than this. This sort of shows up the lower light conditions, but side by side in sunny conditions, they both look fantastic, but I think it's slightly sharper out of this. However, because of the form of this camera, because the lenses are much further apart, the hemispheres from each lens are more misaligned the closer you get to the camera, and with something where the camera lenses are further apart, it means that that distance that things can be corrected properly without any weird lines of things missing is bigger. So imagine there's a bubble around this, that within it you're going to get lens issues and it's going to look weird in places, as in, like, you know, the handlebar's going to be cut in half or something. With the 1X2 on a bike, it's much smaller of a bubble around the top of it, so you end up with a much more uniform image without any breaks in it. It all comes down to how far you mount it from the bike. You can get the same shot as you get with this if you just mount this further out, but then you have more wangle-dangle issues on the ends of mounts and stuff. These are really, really good on the bike. I missed something from the motorcycle kit. They give you this extender arm as well, which can be very useful. Made of aluminium. Nicely made. So the Insta360s are used as my B-roll cameras, although they can be used as a primary too, and then the GoPro is my primary camera on bike. And as I say, I have audio going to that, so that's kind of like my on-the-road setup of equipment. Oh, one other thing, I'm now using the GoPro Enduro batteries, which are supposed to do better in lower temperatures and stuff. I've just found that these have just been better than my old ones because my old ones were very well used. But yeah, the time you get from these is very good for a vlogger. A couple of batteries does you a whole day for most things you're doing. So that covers, as I say, the on-bike stuff. Now, if I'm doing something off the bike, like metal detecting, then I have options as to what cameras I use. Though, I have been using my GoPro a lot. And I've been using it in this case. Now, this is a Ulanzi aluminium case. This is an absolute tank of a case. And it arrived the day after I broke this. It wouldn't have broken if it was in this case. So let me quickly show you how this goes in here. The benefit of this case is it holds the microphone adapter. So take that out, take the ball mount off, close those down, flip the door open, pull the door off, slide the back off the case. This is like, look at the ball detents in this and everything. Pull this down. Let's take that door off, camera goes in, back door goes on, and it's locked in there solidly. Side door goes on, like so. You can then put your, get in there, put your USB-C in there, and as you can see, my mic adapter is here. Then what I do is I plug into this, and this is where I'm going to get into the setup I'm using to film this, but I'm going to have to use some B-roll. I use the Rode Wireless Go 2 microphone system. This is not a cheap system. The first one I ordered was DOA, and I had to, well, one of them was, and I had to send that kit back to Amazon and get it replaced. There was a little bit of an argument in the middle there, and I was like, look, it's broken, you can't fix it. It's a known DOA issue. Got the replacements, absolutely no issues since. So what you get in the kit is you get two of these microphones that you may see a lot of creators using these now when you keep your eye out for them, which are little clip-on mics that are wireless, and they've just got one button to turn them on. You then have a receiver on the camera, which can give you individual levels. You can do all sorts of splitting the audio, having safety channels. I'm not going to go into it here. It is a very powerful tool for a creator who wants to have audio. The other benefit of these is you can take the little fuzzy off and you can plug a lapel mic into it so you can get your audio that way. And although I didn't own the original Wireless Go, I've heard that these are vastly improved. They also have a backup function, which is that they can record what's been in the individual mic, what's been recorded, and should there be some issue transmitting it back to the camera, you can go back to this and get your audio back. As I say, these are very powerful. I mount my receiver onto the top of here to the Wireless Go systems. I plug in the 3.5 jack in here, and I use one of these on me just with one of these windsocks. And they're fantastic for blocking the wind. When I do videos out at Reno on the beach, we've used this. It means both our audios goes into one camera, into one video. And sure, if anything fails, we lose everything. But when it's in your hand and you're looking at it, you can see when stuff goes wrong. I also use this setup, as I say I already am because I can't show you, with this camera. This is a Canon 90D digital SLR, which I use for my garage videos, my top-down videos. I use it for my stills photography. I use it for everything pretty much like that. I'm using a Canon 10-18 wide-angle lens that gives me loads of zoom. That's a very workable range for a creator on this sort of stuff. It's a silent focusing lens, so I use this for nearly all of my video with this camera. Before I got the digital SLR, I would have argued with you that digital SLRs were not the best video option, and actually camcorders are. And I do still think that camcorders are very, very underrated. This camcorder cost me a few £100. The video quality from it is absolutely fantastic, but it's only 1080p. The 4K is jumpy and weird. It really, I would question this being a legal sale of 4K because it barely functions. It's so jumpy. But in the 1080p mode, brilliant stabilisation. You also have a reasonably wide lens and you can zoom in a lot. That's very handy when you're in the garage, for instance, and I'm like doing top-down videos. When I was doing like the Restoration Z bike rebuilds, I was using this in quite a lot of the videos, I think. And I would be using it for top-down stuff like this, then I could just mount it like that and zoom in halfway across the garage, and the quality was still fantastic. And I could really focus in on those shots. And on the wall mount rig I have, that I also have a video on in the garage, that slider system, it gives me so many versatile options of mounting. I don't need to be using a tripod that you can kick with your feet. We've also got wooden boards down the garage, so if I put a tripod down, when I stand on one end, the whole thing moves. It's a very powerful tool. The only sad thing about this, as I say, is the quality wasn't good enough to keep up, and I went to the digital SLR for that reason. I mean, before then, I've owned all sorts of digital SLRs, but they just were never that great for video. What was my previous one that I used for stills? But the video was good from it. I did my Spicy's Hidden Worlds with this camera, but unfortunately it doesn't have autofocus. A600D. If you're doing static stuff and you don't need autofocus, really good quality camera. Cheap as chips now as well. This has also got night vision and it's got built-in lights. You can totally manually adjust everything on it. You've got mic imports. The batteries for it are relatively cheap and you can get nice big fat ones that last for like 3 hours. Memory card goes in there. Oh, that's where my 64 gig is. Been looking for that. So for someone at my sort of level that I'm doing this for a job, I want to push quality and I have to keep quality to keep up, then stuff like this is important and this sort of equipment is important. But as you can see, over the years I've tried to simplify down the things I have to just a few things that do multiple jobs. If you're just starting out making videos, something like this is your best friend. It's got all the lens options with zoom, relatively, as long as it's wide enough when it starts out. The audio can be pretty good from them, but you can plug in audio, and it's, you know, it's a lot cheaper. I will say, when I'm making garage videos and I'm recording with this, I don't use the in-body audio from this. I would often use my Zoom H2N in my pocket with a lapel mic on my hat, which is why I always used to wear a hat in the videos, because it put the mic, if you put it on the peak of a baseball cap, no matter where you turn your head up or down, the mic never moves a distance from the mic. And the way I've got my mic now, if you look, if I face down and talk and then face up and talk, there'll be a difference probably. You don't get that. And again, it's a really good safe backup for audio. Although what I will say, because you have a running cable down to these, you can very easily catch the cable around something and pull it out, or half pull it out. Nowadays, as I say, I'm using this. I'm using the Rode system. This is just clamped onto my hat normally, just as is, or on my shirt, and it gets around all those problems. As I say, other than the Insta360 gear that you've seen in this video, which I've already mentioned was sent to me by Insta360, I bought all this other equipment myself, and I strongly recommend all this stuff. These are my daily tools for my job that I couldn't do without. I will also point out here, because a lot of people get into this hole, they're like, oh, I'd love to get that camera and get into vlogging, do all these things. Also remember, not only do you need this equipment, you also need a computer which can hack editing this comfortably. I invested a fair amount into a machine a couple of years back, and thank God I did, because my old PC was barely able to cope with GoPro. Well, it couldn't really cope with the new GoPro footage. And when it came to like digital SLRs and using all this stuff, I would have been lost if I hadn't upgraded. And I wouldn't have been able to upgrade without my patrons supporting this channel, so if you want to help support this channel, please do that through links in the description. To Patreon, you get videos early and all sorts of benefits. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, because I'm on my way to 100k. That should answer pretty much all the questions I get about my camera equipment and what I use. Editing software, let's mention that. I use Sony Movie Maker like 14, no, or is it like 15, 16, something like that. It's a basic program that doesn't cost too much money. It does what I need it to do. I don't want to pay what Adobe want for their versions of things, so it's a good non-monthly subscription software. There you go. Stop waffling. Bye-bye.